In the vastness of the cosmos lies a mystery older than time itself, a secret buried deep within the heart of an uncharted galaxy. A team of daring explorers ventures into the unknown, chasing whispers of an ancient civilization that could hold the key to humanity's survival or its destruction. But as they unravel the truth, they find themselves hunted by forces beyond comprehension. Will they unlock the answers before it's too late? Prepare for a journey across stars, through danger, and into the very fabric of existence. Hit subscribe now to join us on this epic adventure. The ship shuddered violently as it broke through the atmosphere of Proxima Delta 9, its hull groaning under the strain of re-entry. Captain Alira Voss gripped the armrests of her command chair, her sharp green eyes scanning the flickering displays before her. "Status report," she barked over the cacophony of alarms. "Shields at 63%, Captain," replied Cale Draven, the ship's engineer, his fingers flying across the console. His dark hair was slick with sweat, but his voice remained steady. "If we don't stabilize soon, we risk structural failure." Beside him, Zara Quinn, the mission's xenobiologist, clutched her seatbelt tightly, her knuckles white. She had never been fond of turbulence, let alone the kind that threatened to tear their vessel apart. "What about the landing coordinates?" she asked, trying to keep panic from creeping into her tone. Alira glanced at the navigation screen. Their descent was far from controlled, but the beacon signal, the reason they were here, was growing stronger. It pulsed like a heartbeat, guiding them toward something ancient and mysterious, something no one had dared approach until now. "We're committed," Alira said finally, her voice firm. "Brace yourselves." The ship hit the surface hard, sending shockwaves through the cabin. Dust filled the air as emergency lights blinked on, casting eerie shadows across the crew's faces. For a moment, there was silence, save for the faint hum of the engines struggling to stay alive. Then came the sound of footsteps outside. "Did you hear that?" Zara whispered, her wide eyes darting toward the viewport. Beyond the cracked glass lay a desolate landscape littered with strange formations that seemed almost organic. Towering spires of crystalline material jutted out of the ground, shimmering faintly under the dim light of the distant sun. Before anyone could answer, the door to the cockpit hissed open. In walked Darius Kane, the team's security officer, his rifle slung over his shoulder. His rugged features were calm, but his piercing blue eyes betrayed concern. "We've got company," he announced grimly. Alira stood up, brushing off imaginary dust from her uniform. "Show me." Darius led them to the main viewport, pointing toward the horizon. First, nothing seemed amiss, but then movement caught their attention. A shadow flitting between the spires, too fast to be human. Whatever it wasn't alone. "This just got interesting," muttered Cale, earning a sharp glare from Zara. Alira crossed her arms, her mind racing. They hadn't come this far to turn back now. Not when the beacon promised answers to questions humanity had pondered for centuries. "Suit up," she ordered. "We're going out there." The airlock hissed shut behind them as the team stepped onto the alien soil. The ground crunched beneath their boots, brittle and uneven, like walking on shattered glass. Above them, the sky stretched endlessly, a swirling canvas of purples and blacks dotted with unfamiliar constellations. Felt both beautiful and foreboding. Cale adjusted the settings on his scanner, frowning at the data streaming in. "This place, it's not natural," he murmured. "These readings are off the charts. Energy signatures I've never seen before." Zara knelt beside one of the crystalline spires, running her gloved hand along its smooth surface. It hummed softly under her touch, resonating with a frequency that sent a shiver down her spine. "It's alive," she breathed. "Or at least it used to be." Darius kept his rifle trained on the horizon, his senses on high alert. Shadows danced at the edge of his vision, teasing him, daring him to look away. He didn't. Alira moved ahead, her pace deliberate yet cautious. The beacon's signal grew louder with every step, a rhythmic pulse that seemed to echo in her chest. She stopped suddenly, holding up a hand to signal the others. Ahead, half buried in the ground, was a massive metallic structure. Its design was unlike anything she'd ever seen. Geometric patterns etched into its surface, glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. "That's it," she said quietly. "That's what we came for." As they approached, the structure began to shift. Panels slid apart, revealing intricate mechanisms beneath. Lights flickered to life, bathing them in a warm golden glow. And then, a voice, not spoken, but felt, resonated in their minds. "You have arrived." Zara stumbled back, clutching her head. What was that?" Alira steadied herself, though her heart pounded in her chest. "Stay focused. We need to figure out what this thing wants." Inside the structure, corridors twisted and turned in impossible ways, defying logic and physics. Walls shimmered like liquid metal, reflecting distorted versions of themselves. Each step felt heavier, as if gravity itself was conspiring against them. At the center of it all stood a pedestal, atop which rested a small orb pulsating with energy. It was mesmerizing, drawing them closer despite the unease it instilled. "Don't touch it," Darius warned, stepping forward. "We don't know what it does." But Alira couldn't resist. Slowly, she reached out, her fingers brushing against the orb's surface. In an instant, visions flooded her mind, images of a civilization long gone, of wars fought among the stars, of a weapon so powerful it could reshape reality itself. When she pulled her hand away, gasping for breath, the others stared at her expectantly. "What did you see?" Zara asked, her voice trembling. Alira swallowed hard. "We're not alone," she said. "And whatever's out there, it knows we're here." The realization hit them like a tidal wave. They weren't merely explorers anymore. They were intruders. Somewhere, somehow, their presence had triggered something ancient and dangerous. Back aboard the ship, Kale worked tirelessly to decipher the data collected during their excursion. Lines of code scrolled across multiple screens, each one more cryptic than the last. "There's a pattern here," he muttered, rubbing his temples. "Something encoded in the energy signatures." Meanwhile, Zara pored over samples taken from the crystalline spires. Under the microscope, they revealed structures akin to neural pathways, suggesting a form of consciousness. "These things are remnants of a living entity," she concluded, her voice tinged with awe. "An organism that merged with technology." Darius paced the length of the cargo bay, restless. Every instinct screamed at him to prepare for battle, even though he had no idea what, or who, they might be fighting. "We need a plan," he insisted. "If whatever created this place returns, we won't stand a chance without one." Alira sat alone in the observation deck, staring out at the alien landscape. Her thoughts were a whirlwind of possibilities and consequences. What they had uncovered was monumental, potentially world-changing. But at what cost? Hours passed, and the tension aboard the ship grew palpable. Then, without warning, the beacon activated again. This time, it wasn't a gentle pulse. It was a deafening roar that shook the entire vessel. "Everyone to the bridge!" Alira shouted, sprinting toward the control room. On the monitors, a new signal appeared. A fleet of ships emerging from hyperspace, descending rapidly toward the planet's surface. "They're here," Kale whispered, his face pale. Alira clenched her fists, determination blazing in her eyes. "Then let's make sure we're ready." The fleet of ships descended like a swarm of locusts, blotting out the strange, shimmering sky. Their forms were sleek and angular, unlike anything humanity had ever encountered, each vessel radiating an aura of menace that made Darius's grip tighten on his rifle. Back on the bridge, Alira barked orders with precision, her voice cutting through the chaos like a blade. "Kale, reroute all available power to the shields." "Zara, analyze their energy signatures. Find a weakness if there is one." "Darius, prep the defense systems." Kale's fingers danced across the console as alarms blared around him. "Shields are holding for now, but we're looking at overwhelming odds here, Captain," he warned, beads of sweat forming along his brow. Zara, meanwhile, was already immersed in data streams pouring in from the scanners. Her eyes darted back and forth between monitors, searching for patterns or vulnerabilities. These ships, they're not just machines, she murmured almost to herself. They're alive too. Organic components fused with tech. Darius stood near the viewport, watching as the alien vessels formed a perimeter around the ship. He turned to Alira, his expression grim. If they wanted us dead, they'd have fired by now. This feels calculated. Alira nodded, her mind racing. If Darius was right, and she trusted his instincts, they weren't dealing with mindless aggressors but intelligent beings who had something specific in mind. The question was, what? As if in response to her thoughts, the largest ship loomed closer, its surface rippling like liquid metal. A beam of light shot out, striking the hull of their vessel. For a moment, everyone braced for impact, but instead of destruction, the light enveloped them, bathing the interior of the ship in an eerie glow. Then came the voice again, louder this time, resonating not just in their minds but throughout the entire ship. You carry the seed of our legacy. Surrender it or perish. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. The seed could only refer to the orb Alira had touched earlier. Whatever it contained, it was clearly valuable and dangerous. We don't even know what this thing does, Kale said, gesturing toward the orb, which sat securely locked in a containment unit. How can we trust handing it over to them? And how do we fight them off if we don't? Zara countered, her voice tinged with desperation. Alira stepped forward, her resolve hardening. We play for time. Kale, keep working on decoding the orb's data. Zara, see if you can establish communication with these things. Darius, stay sharp. We may need to move fast. Time became a blur as the crew scrambled to prepare for whatever came next. Outside, the alien ships maintained their ominous vigil, their presence a constant reminder of the stakes. Inside, tempers flared under the pressure. Kale hunched over his workstation, muttering curses under his breath as lines of code refused to yield answers. This isn't some simple encryption, he growled. Whoever built this thing didn't want anyone messing with it. Zara, meanwhile, was attempting to reverse engineer the language used in the transmission. She replayed the message over and over, dissecting every syllable, every tone. There's structure here, she said finally, her voice laced with cautious optimism. It's mathematical. If I can isolate the key frequencies. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and the ship shuddered violently. They're testing us, Darius said, gripping his rifle tighter. Probing our defenses. Alira moved to the main viewport, her jaw set. Beyond the glass, the largest alien ship had extended a tendril-like appendage toward their vessel. Pulsed with energy, crackling ominously. Before anyone could react, the tendril struck, breaching the outer hull. Alarms screamed as atmosphere began leaking into space. Seal off that section, Alira shouted. Darius sprinted toward the breach, sealing bulkheads manually where automated systems failed. Behind him, sparks flew as circuits overloaded, casting the corridor in strobing light. Back on the bridge, Kale worked furiously to stabilize the ship's systems. I'm losing control of auxiliary power, he yelled. Zara abandoned her work momentarily, helping Kale reroute energy reserves. Together, they managed to restore partial functionality just as Darius returned, breathing heavily. One more hit like that and we're done for, he warned. Alira clenched her fists, her mind racing. They couldn't hold out forever, not against forces like these. But surrendering the orb without understanding its purpose felt like signing their own death warrant. Kale, she said sharply, how close are you to cracking the orb's secrets? He hesitated, then shook his head. Not close enough, but I might be able to trigger a failsafe, a localized EMP burst. It could disable their systems long enough for us to escape. Do it, Alira ordered, but make sure it doesn't fry our own ship in the process. Kale worked feverishly, his hands trembling as he inputted commands into the system. The EMP device would require rerouting nearly all remaining power, leaving them vulnerable in other ways, but it was their only shot. While he prepared, Zara returned to her attempts at communication. She adjusted the frequency of their outgoing signal, mimicking the mathematical patterns she'd identified earlier. After several tense minutes, a response finally came. A series of tones that seemed to echo the original message. "I think I've got something," she announced, excitement mingling with fear. "They're responding." Alira joined her at the console, studying the incoming data. "What are they saying?" "It's fragmented, but I can pick out certain phrases," Zara replied. "Legacy, balance, end. It's cryptic, but it sounds like they believe we're disrupting some kind of cosmic equilibrium." "Great," Darius muttered sarcastically. "So we're either saviors or destroyers. Good to know." Before anyone could respond, another tremor rocked the ship. The alien tendril retracted, only to be replaced by a massive beam of energy aimed directly at their core systems. "Now or never, Kale," Alira shouted. With a final keystroke, Kale activated the EMP. The ship plunged into darkness as the pulse surged outward, engulfing the alien ships in a brilliant flash of light. For a moment there was silence. Then, slowly, the hum of their own systems returned. "Did it work?" Zara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. On the monitors, the alien fleet began retreating, their once imposing forms flickering like mirages before vanishing entirely. Alira exhaled sharply, leaning against the console for support. "For now. But this isn't over." The alien fleet's retreat left an eerie calm in its wake, but the crew of the Eclipse knew better than to trust it. The silence was heavy, almost oppressive, as if the cosmos itself was holding its breath. Alira paced the bridge, her mind racing with possibilities. "They're regrouping," she said finally, breaking the quiet. "That EMP bought us time, but not much." Kale nodded, still working to restore full functionality to their systems. "We're limping along here, Captain. Shields are at 20% and propulsion is barely stable. If they come back, we won't last 5 minutes." Zara stared at the orb, now glowing faintly within its containment unit. Maybe the key isn't fighting them. It's understanding why they're so determined to get this thing back. Darius, ever the pragmatist, crossed his arms. "Understanding doesn't stop plasma cannons. We need a plan B." Alira stopped pacing, turning to face her team. "Then let's focus on both. Kale, keep working on repairs. Darius, prep the escape pods just in case. Zara, dig deeper into that orb. If it really holds the secrets of an ancient civilization, maybe it can tell us how to end this without blowing each other up." As the others dispersed, Alira lingered by the viewport, gazing out at the alien landscape. Something about the crystalline spires felt familiar, though she couldn't place why. It was as if they were calling to her, whispering truths just beyond comprehension. Hours passed, and progress was slow but steady. Kale managed to stabilize life support and restore partial power to the engines, though hyperspace travel remained impossible. Darius armed the escape pods with makeshift defenses, ensuring they'd have a fighting chance if things went south. Meanwhile, Zara made a breakthrough. By syncing the orb's energy patterns with the ship's scanners, she uncovered fragments of what appeared to be a map, a route leading away from Proxima Delta 9 and toward a distant star system. "This could be it," she said excitedly, pulling up the data for the others to see. "If we follow this path, it might lead us to answers or allies." Alira studied the map carefully. "It's risky. For all we know, it could be a trap. But staying here isn't an option." Darius frowned. "And what happens when those ships catch up? Because they will." "We'll deal with that when it comes," Alira replied firmly. "For now, set course for the coordinates. Let's see where this takes us." The journey to the new coordinates was fraught with tension. Every sensor sweep revealed nothing, yet the feeling of being watched lingered like a shadow over the crew. On the third day, Kale discovered something unsettling. The orb was affecting the ship systems. Subtle glitches began appearing, minor at first but growing more frequent. Lights flickered, navigation readings became erratic, and even the artificial gravity fluctuated. "It's rewriting our tech," Kale muttered, frustration evident in his voice. "Like it's trying to adapt us to something." Zara ran simulations, her expression grim. What if it's preparing us for whatever's waiting at the destination? Alira considered this, her gaze fixed on the orb. Or maybe it's testing us, seeing if we're worthy. By the fourth day, the glitches had escalated to the point where manual overrides were required for basic functions. Tempers frayed, and exhaustion set in. Yet no one dared suggest abandoning the mission, not when the stakes were so high. As they approached the final jump point, the orb's activity reached a fever pitch. Its glow intensified, bathing the interior of the ship in an ethereal light. The crew gathered on the bridge, bracing themselves for whatever lay ahead. Entering target system in 10 seconds, Kale announced, his voice tight with anticipation. The stars blurred as the ship dropped out of hyperspace, revealing a breathtaking sight. A massive ring-like structure floating in space, its surface etched with intricate designs that pulsed with energy. "That's unnatural," Zara whispered, awestruck. Before anyone could respond, the orb emitted a blinding flash of light. When the spots cleared from their vision, the crew found themselves standing inside the structure, surrounded by holographic projections of planets, stars, and civilizations long extinct. A voice echoed through the chamber, deep and resonant. "You have proven yourselves worthy. The balance must be restored." Alira stepped forward, her heart pounding. "Who are you? What do you want from us?" The projections shifted, showing images of war, destruction, and rebirth. "We are the architects, guardians of the cosmic order. Your kind has disrupted the harmony of existence. The seed you carry is the key to restoration or annihilation." The weight of the architect's words hung heavily in the air. Zara broke the silence first, her voice trembling. "So we're responsible for fixing everything? How?" The holograms shifted again, depicting the orb merging with various celestial bodies, triggering cataclysmic events. Use the seed wisely. Align it with the nexus, the core of creation, and choose the path forward. Alira clenched her fists, anger bubbling beneath her calm exterior. "Why us? Why drag us into this mess?" Because you possess the spark of curiosity and resilience, qualities necessary for stewardship." Darius snorted. "Sounds like a load of..." Alira shot him a sharp look before turning back to the projection. "Where is this nexus?" The holograms coalesced into a single image, a swirling nebula at the edge of known space. Find it. Decide humanity's fate." With that, the chamber dissolved around them, depositing them back aboard their ship. The orb pulsed softly, as if urging them onward. The journey to the nexus tested the crew's limits. Supplies dwindled, tempers flared, and the orb's influence grew stronger, causing hallucinations and vivid dreams of alternate realities. In one such dream, Alira stood on a barren planet, watching as cities crumbled and oceans boiled away. She woke with a start, drenched in sweat, the vision lingering in her mind. When she confided in Zara, the xenobiologist offered a theory. "Maybe the orb is showing us potential futures, what happens if we fail or succeed. It's trying to prepare us emotionally." Kale, however, wasn't convinced. "Or it's messing with our heads, making sure we don't chicken out." Despite the uncertainty, they pressed on, driven by a mix of duty and desperation. Upon reaching the nexus, they encountered a massive anomaly, a swirling vortex of energy that defied physics. The orb reacted violently, pulling itself free from its containment unit and floating toward the vortex. Alira grabbed it instinctively, feeling a surge of energy course through her body. Visions flooded her mind once more, this time clearer. A choice between two paths, one leading to peace, the other to chaos. "You have to decide," Zara urged, her voice filled with urgency. Alira hesitated, the weight of billions resting on her shoulders. Finally, she stepped into the vortex, clutching the orb tightly. Inside the nexus, reality bent and twisted. Alira confronted manifestations of her fears and doubts, each one challenging her resolve. Yet she persevered, guided by the belief that humanity deserved a chance to evolve rather than destroy itself. Reaching the center, she placed the orb into a glowing pedestal. Light erupted, engulfing her in warmth. When it faded, she stood amidst a renewed galaxy, teeming with life and possibility. Returning to the ship, Elira shared the outcome with her crew. Though exhausted, they felt a sense of accomplishment. As they set course for home, Elira addressed the camera directly. The universe is vast and unpredictable, but so are we. Together, we faced the unknown and emerged stronger. If you're ready to join us on future adventures, hit subscribe. This is just the beginning.